Don Sweet here. This is hopefully a quick one just because everybody's been reporting about PayPal charging people, fining them for misinformation. Now, that's not exactly the whole story, but I think it is important to talk about. So, the real story, well, the current story, let's say, not real. The current story is that they will only fine you $2,500 if you violated their acceptable use policy. All right? But I do think that this $2,500 thing is a little bit scary because you have to, by agreeing to this, you're agreeing that $2,500 per violation of the acceptable use policy is presently a reasonable minimum estimate of PayPal's actual damages, which seems a little crazy to me. PayPal's damages have to be done on a case-by-case basis. You can't just assume that any infraction is going to be $2,500 on PayPal's part. Now, I'm assuming that that's how they're justifying their intense legal fees, but, that's it. So what is the acceptable use policy? Well, let's click over to that. So the prohibited activities in the acceptable use policy, violating laws, some specific things about drugs, narcotics, stolen goods, certain materials that they don't allow to be sold on their website. Okay, they have the right to deny those services. And then relating to transactions showing personal information. So if you're doxing somebody or if you're, offering to receive payments for somebody else for bribery, right? So it's almost all just illegal things that they're avoiding, right? So not as big a deal. So what is this whole thing about misinformation? Why is that the case? Well, it's that they did release a policy that did include fines for misinformation, which is a little bit scary. It seems like they've retracted that now. Whether or not it was truly an accident or whether or not it was a reaction to the backlash, we just can't know. But this article on CNET by Stephen Musil, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how to say your last name, Stephen. It said that PayPal has no plans to fine customers for misinformation, that they were just drawing this criticism over the weekend for something that was sent in error. It was never intended to be sent out and included incorrect information, so it's not a big deal, right? Now, maybe that's true, maybe that's false. That's definitely what PayPal has said. But why would the language have been in this document in the first place? Why would there have been language specifically about misinformation and specifically about fines? Well, here's the thing. Even if at the end of the day, whatever executive there was didn't sign off on it and it should never have gone out, someone drafted that. Someone edited it. Someone proofread it. And it got to a stage where it could have been published. So even if they are being truthful in saying that it never should have been published, it was definitely being considered. It was being weighed. It was being measured. And we have to be careful to make sure that all businesses that are doing this sort of thing know that we're not okay with it. We have to make our voices heard and tell them that we will not do business with people that are censorious and punitive and look to be extorting money for incorrect think. Anything where someone is trying to make certain opinions unspeakable, that should be a giant red flag for you. Even if you think that the opinion that they have is heinous, we need to allow them to say it. We don't want these things to go into the recesses and the dark corners of the dark web. We want them to be out in the open where you can say, oh, my neighbor Bill posted that crappy thing that was kind of racist. Good to know. I'm glad I know that Bill's a racist. If I didn't know Bill's a racist, I might have obliviously never criticized him. I might have obliviously never shamed him. And now that I know he's a racist, I can do something about it, right? This is what we don't understand. It's not that wokeism per se is wrong. It's that their strategy is completely backward from what would make sense. You want the bigots and the racists to say what's on their mind so that you know that they are a bigot and a racist and you can avoid them. Now, I'm kind of focusing on bigotry and racism because that's the more black and white case. Things do get a little more unclear with regard to certain opinions that are out of favor on certain social media platforms. But some of them we can all agree about and we can say, hey, I want to know what that person thinks so that I can either choose to disassociate myself with them or I can choose to criticize them or debate them. But what we don't want to do is hide and pretend and start saying you can't say that thing. Because just because someone doesn't say it doesn't mean they didn't think it. Doesn't mean they're not finding people who are like-minded and organizing in different ways. We need to know it's there. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. So let's keep everything out in the open. All right, just a quick one today. Hope everything's well, and stay free, my friends.